listening to KCFB Ferguson, 89.5 The Wave, and this is Fear the Dead Air, with your host, JazzHandss.
When civilization ends, it ends fast.
That is right, you are listening to the one, the only Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. I'm your host, your friend, the neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss, and we are here to talk about last Sunday's epic, again, good episode. It was a really good episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Spoiler alert, R is ahead, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, please check it out. The episode title is called Do Not Disturb, which, I understand that. I get it, but go check that out before listening to this, because spoiler warning is ahead, so you had your warning. Now let's just dive right in to the episode. Let's go. Okay, so my overall thoughts of the episode. This was a really good episode. Granted, for me personally, I kind of felt it was a little bit slower than the last episode. For some reason, I kind of felt the last episode was a little bit more better paced, and it was a little bit more interesting, and I got a little bit more out of it. Not saying that this wasn't interesting and everything. We got a couple new characters that were thrown into the mix, and we got to see this hotel that they were at. But, you know, in its heyday, right when the attacks happened, so that was pretty interesting. But for some reason, for me, this episode felt kind of slower in certain regards. But we got a lot of cool new visual scenery. And this is kind of one of those things where, I keep talking about how the scenery in this part of the season has been beautiful. We get the desert, we get, this hotel, and we get to see kind of more of that, like the stuff with Chris and Travis at night driving. That was kind of cool looking. And then, their little campfire that they had, the certain little towns and certain, little mom and pop shops that they passed along the way. Those were pretty cool to see. And then, of course, the inner workings of the hotel, these different rooms, the different, layers of this place, and how, you kind of see that this hotel could theoretically be, its own little city or its own little village on its own, and people lived there and worked there. And so that was really cool to see, the underground tunnel stuff. That was really cool to see. So visually, this show has been amazing. Introducing such cool new ideas, such cool kind of, oh hey, let's have this just this tunnel underneath this hotel, but with walkers. And I know we've seen that kind of stuff before with the Walking Dead, but okay, we've seen that stuff kind of before with the Walking Dead, but the one whole thing is that it only comes around once in a while. So granted, it's a little bit more of a treat. I will say that The Walking Dead, when Rick and the group stormed Negan's compound, the satellite dishes stuff, that was visually cool. That was exciting. When Glenn and Tara went into the tunnel, that was cool. That was visually stunning. But we only get that once in a while. Normally it's Alexandria or the woods. But with this, we're getting so much new location, so much different stuff, all at once in one episode, and we have 3 essential stories to tell that from. So we have 3 visual beauties, It's nice. And again, this episode was really, really cool. They had good character development, and it was smooth character development. It wasn't because... And when I say smooth character development, before it was kind of they would do something, or they would force the character to kind of do something, I feel, and it would be kind of 50-50. The stuff with Part B with Alicia, and how, I'll go with him, I'll go with the pirates. I hated that. But this episode was smoother to the point where it made me actually like Alicia. And that's a lot to say. That is a lot to say, because I hated her character in the beginning. I hated her character. She was just annoying. She was whiny. She was just bleh to me. She was just bleh. Just an annoying character. But now she's actually coming around into the forefront, and I'm really liking what they're doing with her. I'm really, 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 really liking what they're doing with her. So, and I hope they keep it up. I really, really hope they keep it up. Chris got character development as well. And Chris's character development was definitely interesting. Now, I said from day one, I know, I pretty much said as soon as he punched Travis in the first part of the season, that kid needs to get shot. That kid needs to get shot because he's this train. I don't want to say train wreck, but he is this train wreck, essentially. You know, he's just this kind of destructive person that tries to go up against the grain, and he becomes destructive. I say this because I kind of realized last night, you know, when he was hanging out with the American Bros, that back in season 1, you know, he joined a rally, he joined, you know, a riot and stuff like that, and, you know, he was he's always kind of against power, I guess, in a certain way, or he wants to have power. It's kind of understandable, I guess, in this world, because in a world now where, given by a normal society, you feel powerless. If you feel powerless in normal society, well, there's nothing you could do because this. But in a world where there's no rules, no limit, you know, no restrictions on what you can and can't do, and you know, and the right and wrong are blended. You know, there's a gray layer of it. It's not black and white anymore. It's just a gray layer of what's right, what's wrong, what's this, what's that. You can become very, I guess, I don't want to say jaded, but you can become very, if you haven't had power and you wanted power, now you can forcefully take it. And that's kind of what I think Chris is eventually going to start doing. It's starting slow now, but he became obsessed with characters, and he's becoming obsessed with killing. He's becoming obsessed with doing stuff on his own, and kind of becoming obsessed with surviving, almost to the point where I would say he has an addiction as well, just like Nick does. And this addiction for him is being this badass, you know, being Killer Chris. You know, he wants to be that. He pretty much wants to be Negan. That's what I'm kind of getting at. That's what I think he's getting at. And if Travis doesn't try to stop it, he'll go down this destructive path. And it kind of makes me wonder if at some point, if they keep it up and they keep these characters split, if we're going to get some weird kind of cool battle. You know, Chris might get some men together and become this leader. Alicia might stay with her group and get their leader together, and then somehow these two, you know, characters who started off nobodies essentially in the Walking Dead universe grow into these powerful leaders that eventually go to war. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. No way in hell. But it would be interesting to kind of see something like that in the forefront. And pretty much Chris's character development is he's kind of destructive. He's kind of destructive in the sense that he likes it, and it's that addiction, like I said. He's addicted to wanting to survive, addicted to kind of killing, and he wants to do more of it, and he kind of wants people to... He wants to be a loose cannon, and so that's destructive, and in this world, you either become like Negan, or you die. You'll eventually die, because you get so wrapped up in the killing and everything like that, so... his character development and his whole story arc was definitely interesting. Travis, too. You know, those were the three main characters that they focused on quite a lot. Granted, they added, what was her name? Elena, I believe it was her name. Granted, they added this newer character who worked at the hotel, but really the stronger character developments, stronger character developments, because she got some character development, but stronger primary character developments were between Alicia and Chris, and on a lower level, Travis. Travis got a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of character development, but there was something which happened at the end, where Travis kind of, I feel, me personally, he gave up on Chris. When he didn't take Chris's hand, that was him kind of giving up on Chris. I think definitely throughout this episode he tried his hardest to connect to his son once again and say, hey, we're in this as a team. We're in this as, you know, father and son. We can take on, you know, this world together, but you can't lose your humanity. You can't lose who you are. You can't become this killer, which you're slowly becoming. You can't become this thug, essentially. And you see throughout the episode, he reminds him of when they went camping. He taught him how to drive, and he let him go on that little run. You know, he's trying to, and this might be, I wouldn't say it's naive of Travis, but he might be looking at this until Chris eventually shot that man. He might have been looking at it through, this is just a phase. He needs to kind of get over it. He's a teenager. You know, his mother died because of these creatures. He is angry. He's angry. He's sad, and he wants revenge. And so he's just got this pent-up energy. I mean, I know we're all human beings. We've all had this kind of like, when we're angry, just this pent-up ball in our stomach that, you know, if one person talks to us or looks at us the wrong way, we're going to go off on them. That's just human nature. We're humans. We get angry sometimes and we become salty. And so I think he kind of thought that that's what Chris was going through. He's angry, he's hurt, he's sad because of his mother's death. And so he wants to become, you know, he wants to let go and wants to become this killer. But now I think really after Chris shot the man, it was the one thing that he didn't think Chris would ever do. And now Travis is kind of stunned. Travis is stunned and he's like, I think I lost my son. I think he's still going to try to bring him back. I think there's always going to be a part of him, because he's a father, so he's going to try to bring back his son. But I think there's going to be a part of him that let go of Chris. So interesting character development throughout this episode. We're going to be taking a quick break here on 89.5 The Waves, Fear the Dead Air, and we'll be right back after this.
Fear the Dead Air is taking a little break. Don't worry, we'll be back.
That is right, you're listening to Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. KCFV Ferguson, I'm your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss. Back to talk about last Sunday's epic Fear the Walking Dead. And of course, I am joined with the one, the only Paul.
Hey.
Here. Well, it's nice to have you in.
I finally, actually watched it on Sunday night and not had something to do that following Monday. Or Tuesday.
Yeah,
you can tell how. Man, 3-day weekends mess me up.
Yeah, I think it messes a lot of people up.
I'm like, it's Monday. Why is JazzHandss here?
Yeah.
No, it's Tuesday. That's why.
But it's nice to have you back. So let's dive right back into the episode. So kind of to recap just a little bit, I talked about my overall thoughts of the episode, what I felt was cool, what I felt wasn't cool, and like I said, this episode definitely kicked it up a notch. It was, for me, kind of slower than the previous episode, but there was still a lot of visual good stuff, and there was a lot more smoother character development. So my question to you, Paul, is, do you think Travis gave up on Chris at the end? Because he held out his hand and he didn't take it, and I think that's a sign of, I'm giving up.
That's a tough one. To a point, yes. I think he's come to the point of, we need to do something about you. I don't approve of you hanging with, as Chris Hardwick called it on Talking Dead, the three bromigos. I really, really do not agree with that. And I don't like the direction you're going. I don't think it's necessarily giving up. I think it's more like, to reference back to the parent show, The Walking Dead, I think it's more like when Rick had his little moment with Carl after Carl shot the kid. Even though he was armed, he wasn't pointing the gun. And Herschel kind of sat Rick down and said, your boy's getting awful violent. There's no Herschel here, but I have a feeling that, this is going to be the moment where Travis, in the guise of Rick, comes up to Chris, the guise of Carl, and says, hey, you're really kind of pushing the boundaries here. You really need to chill out and not be so cool with killing people. You need to kill people, don't get me wrong, but you need to kill the right people.
And so that kind of leads me into my next question, because I agree with you, and I want to definitely kind of cover the whole Travis and Chris dynamic like you were talking about, but do you think Chris would have shot him if he shot one of the bromigos? Or do you think when he walked in? No.
Shoot one of the bromigos.
No. I'm saying if he didn't shoot the bromigos,
if he didn't?
Do you think Chris would have still shot? Pretty much, do you think that Chris was just looking for a reason to shoot?
No, I actually think Chris would have shot regardless because I think Chris is looking to impress the three Bromigos because these guys are younger. They're his peers. They're not his father. Mm-hmm. And he is very, very actively rebelling against Travis throughout almost the entire episode. You know, he didn't tell his dad, yeah, there were people there and I actually stole their stuff.
Who possibly could have killed the mom pa shop
and I'm pretty sure they did.
I think they did, yeah.
Just looking at how fresh the bodies were, I'm thinking those two were kind of, okay, this has gone bad, but, you know, we can hold this place down, and we're going to stay in here, and those three went in, and, hey, cool, can we get some tacos? Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
You know. And, because they, no offense, and, you know, Kelly Blatz, I think is his name. The actor who played Brandon, was on Talking Dead this past weekend, and he was a very, very nice guy. He did not end every sentence with "brah." Yeah, bro, what's up?
These are characters.
These are characters
in this world. So.
But you know, I mean, I really just think Chris's whole motivation for it was I'm going to show them how tough I am because you know they were impressed with me when I killed what was their name for him? The Wasted. The Wasted, which I thought was awesome.
I love the Wasted.
It's perfect because, you know, freshly turned and not really, you know, all that bad.
Yeah.
You kind of look like you're just a little drunk, stumbling home from the party, and then all of a sudden you eat somebody's face off at a wedding, and it's all gone to hell.
I agree with a lot of that. I agree, but my whole thing is I'm wondering if we're going to get to see the polar opposite of what Rick and Carl went through, where Rick kind of could bring him back, and you know, granted, Carl still kind of rebelled. You know, I really think this upcoming season he's going to kind of rebel again against his father because hey, you let us into this, you got us into this.
I agree.
But
I agree wholeheartedly.
But my whole thing is, I'm wondering if this is going to be what if Rick could never keep Carl on track? What if Rick could never kind of keep Carl? And then this is going to be one of those things where pretty much what I think is going to Carol did with Lizzie.
I don't think it's going to quite get to look at the flowers, Lizzie, or look at the flowers, Chris, as the case may be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get to that point because, here's my prediction, Chris is going to become zombie food. Chris, I think he's going to get more and more reckless and more careless, and I think he's going to be out there showing what a badass he is, and something's going to creep up behind him. They're going to be like, Chris! And Travis is going to be like, Chris! But Travis doesn't usually carry a firearm, and he's going to be too far away, and Chris is going to be chowed on, and the last thing he's going to be able to do for his son is right in the head.
My whole thing, though, is Chris, and I said this a little bit earlier, Chris has always kind of been against the grain. He's always kind of been a little bit self-destructive. If you think back to season 1 when he joined the rally and everything like that, he's this kid that wants power but doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And so now by killing and people going, oh man, you're so cool for that, he's
getting power and recognition.
It's almost like Nick with the drugs. He's addicted to this, and he's slowly becoming addicted to this and killing, and he's going to want more and more. And my whole thing is, you know, you're in this group, the bros, and you've killed, you know, a lot of people. When's it going to get to the point where you're just like, I'm bored? Like, I think he's going to kind of become, or try to be like Negan in a certain way.
I don't know that he's going to go quite that far.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm going to kill you and take your stuff. Rather than, hey, maybe there's a chance we can work together and be stronger. Because I do agree with one thing that Chris said is we're stronger in a group. Mm-hmm. But by the same token, in this world, you have to pick the group you're going to be with.
Yeah.
And Chris picked basically a group of douchebags.
Pretty much.
Those guys are just horrible. Yeah, bruh. We're down here on spring break, brah. And we were like, you know, whoa, everything's gone away. And now, like, we're like gods. That line right there disturbed me because that implies we have the ability to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And that is not the mindset to have in the zombie apocalypse.
No, it's what's it called? Beginner mindset to where, we're gods, we can do it. It's like, no, you're survivors. But let's see how strong of a survivor you can be.
That's the thing. You're not gods. You're not almighty and all-powerful. You have survived this far based on ruthlessness, based on luck, based on circumstance, based on skill, whatever. Let's see how long you can hold out on that.
So, do you think Elena was right in locking the doors?
Absolutely.
You do?
Oh my gosh, if you've got a hotel that big and it's filled to capacity, and you have one room where everybody has gone insane, and you don't know what it is, yes, you lock the doors. You make sure that they stay in there, and you do your best to contain it. In that type of a situation, yes, I think she was absolutely right. In hindsight,
You just made a whole bunch of walkers.
you just made
Or wasted, I'm sorry.
really, really, really big horde of the undead, and they're all locked in one room.
Which I do like, I gotta say, and this is one of the things where I really do like what Fear's doing now. I like this idea of having this hotel as kind of like a city, or like its own little village.
Yes.
And the walkers are laid into certain places. You know, you run and you making barricades of like 2 floors of walkers, and then there's you on the top floor, and then the people trying to get to you are on the bottom floor. And just this cool and interesting idea of this, like, its own little city in a certain way. But either way, Paul had to step out for a quick second, so I'm kind of back on my own. My whole thought is that, yes, she, for the time, she did something right, but what I want to know is why the hell couldn't the people in The Walking Dead, why couldn't the people who were not in The Walking Dead, why couldn't the people who were in the church or in the ball, break out? Why couldn't the people break out? Why couldn't they have tried to break out or all work together or something like that? But yeah, I think it was, you made just a whole room of walkers. Granted, you didn't know what you were doing, but yeah. Elena, I think she's going to come. I think she's going to be a part of the group now, where she's going to travel with them. She's going to leave the hotel, and it's going to be a big struggle for her to not only just leave the hotel, the only home she's ever known, but it's going to be one of those things where she's back out into she's out into this world now, and this world has gone to hell in a handbag. So I'm excited to kind of see where her character goes, where her and her nephew goes, and then of course Alicia in this episode, like I said, she was a total badass. She was awesome, and she did so much in this episode. And like I said, her character's really coming around for me. I hated her before, but her character is really, really coming around for me, and she's developing into this really strong kind of leader type character who has a lot of hope. She almost has a lot of hope like Travis does, and I kind of hope that that's parallel, and you see that he kind of washed off on her and has influenced her more so, and that he's influenced the kids more so than he actually thinks. So yeah, I think this was a very, very good episode, a very powerful episode, a very awesome episode. What does happen? Predictions? No clue. No clue with the predictions. None at all. And that's what I like. I like kind of going into this blind. I love going into this whole thing blind. But either way, good episode. Fear, keep this up. You've had, since the season's come back, you've had powerhouse after powerhouse after powerhouse of good episodes. I'm expecting it to slow down a little bit. You can't always have good episodes, but these episodes are fantastic. They're better. You're playing with such cool and interesting ideas and stuff. And we're starting to get really good storytelling. And I like the idea of the hotel as a city. As like a city that you trap walkers in and stuff like that. I absolutely love it. But thanks everybody so much for tuning in. I had a blast and a half. Tune in same time, same place next week for more Fear the Dead Air. Here on 89.5